Government today engaged management of Agri Development Bank ADB and also further with the union leadership of the ADB at the instance of President Mahama to seek a resolution to the ongoing conflict which is endangering the corporate reputation and integrity of the bank. President Mahama called for the dialogue on May Day after expressing displeasure about the current impasse between management and workers over the sale of the bank.
The crisis of confidence arising between the management and the staff of the Agricultural Development Bank in respect of the proposed initial public offering (IPO). I believe that a communication gap exists in respect of the program between the management and staff. I've therefore tasked the Honorable Minister of Employment and Labour Relations to hold an urgent meeting with the management and staff to resolve any misunderstandings existing.
Now, today's meeting is expected to find a way forward in dealing with the issues, and particularly for the parties to appreciate how to address their grievances and how to respect structures. After a long winding hours of talks, are we setting the impasse between workers and management of the ADB has ended? This is today's big story. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. We'll be back shortly. Employment and Labour Minister Haruna Idris before today was very optimistic that something better will come out from this meeting. Let's hear him speak at the meeting.
Pursuant to a government policy decision to restructure ADB and to allow for private participation in its ownership, that policy decision remains same. However, management is subject to finalization and consultation with other stakeholders, in particular the union. You proceed further only subject to further consultation with other stakeholders. So the initial public order, which is a major policy decision of government approved on by the board, should proceed only subject to further consultations and finalization of negotiations with UNICOF, and in particular the involvement of the local union. The other major issue which is at the center or at the heart of the conflict was on the sale of ADB House. Management is accordingly advised to stay action and to halt all processes leading to the sale of ADB House. So that is to be put on hold. You are not to proceed further with the sale of ADB House. You should restore full operations of the activities of the bank. We all need to resolve these matters using due processes and our known grievances procedures, and to address them as part of the internal corporate commitment of both management and union to see an ADB as a growing concern and to situate it to be among the pride of financial institutions in Ghana. Therefore, the union is to reconsider your decision of a possible boycott, continuing wearing of red bands, and a possible strike action or demonstration is to be reconsidered by you. That is to say that I'm making an appeal to you to abandon that whilst government looks into some of the concerns that you raise which are legitimate. And therefore, matters relating to the financial center, AgriDev, its ownership and management of it, and issues relating to build, operate, transfer, and the status of it will further be examined by the regulator, the Bank of Ghana, and probably with an external partner, so to be determined by them. It is my understanding that the Bank of Ghana will also look into other matters of corporate governance and conflict of interest issues raised as the regulator. And whilst all this is being done, the union and workers must cooperate and get ADB to function fully without any act of intimidation or threat. It is also to be noted that we have had consensus of the parties, and when I say consensus of the parties, both management and the union, that no worker or union activist will suffer any act of intimidation arising out of going public and bursting out with their frustration on many of these issues.
That was Employment and Labor Relations Minister Haruna Idris. On the phone right now is Labor expert Mr. Austin Garmy. Good evening. We appreciate your time on today's big story.
Good evening. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Now, the workers are simply kicking against the IPO and are demanding a detailed audit into the books of the bank before it goes public. Is it not straightforward enough for government to deal with? Was today's meeting necessary?
Well, sometimes you have to carry along with you people you work with. You cannot do away with them immediately because of the circumstance we find ourselves in this country, our culture and management practices that we have learned all these years. It will take a transition to get to where we want to be. So you sometimes have to, bend backwards and carry along with you people who are not yet where you want them to be.
Okay.
I think that is the cause of the kind of meeting the minister has been engaging in so far.
But one of the things the meeting is expected to do is to make the parties understand and appreciate how to address their grievances and how to respect structures. But more importantly, as a labor expert, following the issues, what were your expectations of this meeting?
Let me be very honest with you. I think that we have to agree that we are not where we are supposed to be yet. First, let's agree.
Right.
The level of emotional immaturity, among the elites in Ghana is extremely very high.
Right.
And virtually everything is looked at from a different spectacle. So, unfortunately, that appears to be ruling, the hearts of our people.
Right.
And so I certainly was not expecting a complete success story from the meeting they were going through today, even though I know the high competency level of the minister. The kind of feelings that have been expressed, on the corridors of these meetings clearly shows that the meetings were not going to reach a success story today.
Right.
But I have a conviction that with patience, not too long, we can't continue like this forever. Otherwise, we all enter into slaughterhouse and be slaughtered. Other people have developed through difficult, times. We must agree that there is time for everything.
Right.
So I am convinced and I'm convicted in my heart that they will have to come to terms and agree to it. That even in our present situation, governmental organizations like the likes of ADB and the rest can be listed on stock exchange.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with that. If there is something that they specifically want to know, workers in that organization should follow through some, procedures and have those concerns addressed, and not to stop their customers, from benefiting, including themselves, from people who pay the taxes and want to have a share in it. It's not, the ADB is not meant for management and staff there alone. It's for everybody, both past and present, and those who died and have contributed in diverse ways. They have a say in it. And so it's not limited to the people who are working there alone. That should be clearly understood, both management and staff. And so in communicating this thing out, it might be clearly understood that ADB is for the entirety of Ghanaians. And so anything that can be done and will be done to help accelerate the growth of and development of ADB, we are all for it. And so if there is any way they would need the help of other people to assist them to understand it, we are all available, 24 million people.
Well, I would have you hold Mr. Osengame because I have John Esiape on the line with Unicof. Good evening, John Esiape. Many thanks for your time.
Good evening.
Are you satisfied with the outcome of today's meeting?
To the extent that is the beginning of a process to resolve the issue, why not? We welcome it.
Right. Could you tell us, we're told you're having a meeting now, and if you're satisfied with what happened today, what exactly are you discussing in your meeting right now?
No, thank you very much. The minister appealed to us to reconsider the public protestations that we intended to embark upon if the issues were not resolved.
Right.
And it was just fair that we went back to our structures who mandated us to get them to appreciate what the outcome of the meeting, and especially to take a decision on the minister's request.
Well, let me have you also on hold because Elton John Brobe, my colleague, was at the meeting. Elton, many thanks for coming to the studio. What can you tell us about this meeting? I mean, run us through what really happened at this meeting.
Well, remember that government or the president directed the employment ministry to resolve this particular issue. So first they met the management of the bank. Yesterday they met the workers union. And today they met both parties, the management and the workers. Right. And after the meeting, the employment minister read what I would want to describe as a communique reached after the meetings. And basically, the directive is to the management of the bank to put on hold any plans of selling the bank's headquarters, and then also to seek further consultation on their proposal to go public. Right. And then secondly, to allow the Bank of Ghana, the regulator in this case, to look into issues of governance, conflict of interest, and poor judgment cited against the current management. So these are the three issues reached after the meeting. And like we heard from Mr. Esiape, after the meeting, I spoke to him. He said he was going to hold a meeting with his workers to tell them and to get a word from them as to the way forward, because they've been asked to halt any decision to go on a demonstration and also to resume full operations at the bank.
But were you able to speak with other members of Unicof? Because I'm told that some of them are not happy about today's decision.
Well, you remember that early on they had held a news conference demanding the dissolution of the board and the dismissal of the managing director. So some were of the opinion that will be captured in the communique that was read by the employment minister. But that was not to be. Now, what I deduced from the communication was that because the Bank of Ghana has between 30 and 45 days to look into these issues, I'm sure that this particular concern of DS, the dissolution of the board and the dismissal of the MD, will be captured in the bank's report that will be presented to both parties, the management, the workers, and the employment ministry, to inform the way forward.
Yeah, they also called for an audit. Was that addressed at the meeting?
Yeah, it is part of what the Bank of Ghana will look into, because they are looking at the corporate governance of the bank. I'm sure the management style of the managing director and his management staff. They are also looking at what they want to describe as poor judgment on the part of the management. I don't know what really that is, though. Right. So these are issues that Bank of Ghana is looking at. Remember that there's been an audit before, which the workers are questioning, the competence of that audit.
Exactly.
So these are issues that the regulator is looking into, and I'm sure that after the day elapsed, between 30 and 45 days, they will come back, and then the workers will be briefed on the outcome. Then we will know the way forward, whether or not the report will demand what the workers are asking for.
Okay, let me get on to the other line. Mr. Osengame, management of the bank is now being asked to hold on to any decision of selling the bank. Is that enough to address the impasse between the two the workers and management?
Well, obviously, I mean, they all know that may not be the solution in its entirety.
Right.
That notwithstanding, without prejudice to whatever the Bank of Ghana will be doing. The reality is that it's always difficult for one side to request that somebody should be dismissed. If it's the other way around, if I were to be the Union General Secretary, I will obviously have to find whether it's good for that to be done.
Right.
So in the same vein, somebody who is a regulator and all, in the saddle of management of the country, will have to find out why. So when the person is out, everybody in this country will understand. But having said so, I think it's important to understand that somebody pay our monthly pay every now and then. And so not listening or listening, not engaging in working or not working, the consequences are obvious for the past 2-3 days or so.
Right.
If nothing meaningful is taking place, if customers of the bank are doing a kind of a wait-and-see attitude, obviously at the end of the month, we all must understand that somebody will have to pay somebody. And since it's customers who pay our monthly pay,
right,
we will all have to take a second look. I'm sure that's the reason why the General Secretary is having a meeting with them. We appreciate the fact that somebody pay our monthly pay, so we must be seen working fully as going through this process. Otherwise, we won't be the loser.
I'll have you hold one more time. Mr. Siepe, tell me, what was the outcome of your meeting with the workers? Because some of them seem agitated and they're not happy with the outcome of today's meeting. So when you met them, what did they tell you after you trying to convince them to accept the outcome of the meeting?
Thank you very much. Our meeting really was not to address directly the minister's request. It was for us to plan how to go around the country to engage our constituents.
Right.
And so it was a planning meeting. We are likely to commence the meeting tomorrow in Accra. Okay. Unfortunately, as we speak, we have not had management's consent. So whether that meeting will come on or not, we cannot tell.
Right.
We cannot hold any meeting if management does not approve of it. So that depends on the authority. And we are saying that we are a law-abiding institution. We want to follow the rules, and so we will not do anything untoward. However, I would want to also place on record that we are working. We haven't gone on strike.
Right.
We are doing what is expected of us. Again, in respect of what your correspondent said, I think he missed one point. One of the key issues that the Bank of Ghana is looking at is the financial, and including outstanding loans and all the issues that have been raised.
Right.
And we think those are key. And the request was an independent audit firm to join the Bank of Ghana where necessary to do this work and do it thoroughly. We only have been concerned about the procedures that will be used, because the apprehension is that if you are not careful, there could be some cover-up. And we have already started picking signals of that.
Right.
And I'm sure it will feature prominently in tomorrow's meeting. And that's why we have asked for some stepping aside earlier on. Because it happens to workers. Anytime a worker is being investigated, they are interdicted. Right. In this particular case, we are watching. But I'm sure they'll come up, these will come up in tomorrow's meeting with our members.
And since this stepping aside has not been addressed today, you feel that the meeting, the investigation by the Bank of Ghana will also be thwarted?
Well, I mean, if you are looking for information and that information will be tainted, then the outcome is already determined.
Right.
That is the fear. So tomorrow's meeting and the subsequent ones we will hold with our members, I'm sure you will come up with so many issues. And we think at this stage, government should seize the moment and deal with this investigation professionally. We agree entirely with government's intention, but the processes must stand the test of time. We are sure that will bring some satisfaction to everybody.
Well, many thanks to you, John Esiape. We appreciate your time, extremely appreciate your time on today's big story. Mr. Austin Game, if you're on the other line, This is investigation yet to begin, and already the workers do not believe in the outcome of the investigation because one of their demands for some people to step aside has not been addressed. You feel this investigation will yield any positive result?
Well, the possibilities are there, but to me, the bitter lesson is that all manner of management people in this country, both private and public,
Right.
to begin to learn lessons by now. You know, to carry along with them, not for bad reasons, but for the good reasons, how their policy, they intend their policies to influence work and its benefit to everybody, including the social partners that they work with, including those of us who are stakeholders but are not working there directly.
Right.
It's very important that they appreciate this fact and begin to work towards that. You know, staying in the old status quo does not help anybody. We have to experience paradigm shift in everything that we do. You know, and living in the past and assuming that it will work always, I guarantee will not work. For now, I can tell you that the prejudices, the kind of feeling and expectations of the workers clearly already has, put some kind of, difficulties along the way already before even the investigation will begin.
Right.
So I don't know whether Bank of Ghana would be capable of doing what they want them to do. Otherwise, the minister will have to find some ingenuity, methodologies from somewhere
Right.
to bring to bear on this issue. But I'd like to plead with the workers that asking management to be dismissed or to be asked to get out from office every now and then,
Right.
if the matters are not extremely aggravated, then I think that it's very important that we begin to look at this thing. Because if it's the other way around, then it becomes another problem. But I appreciate the fact that they have concerns and they want it to be examined. But the manner in which they are doing, they should listen to their general secretary. If they advise them that they should, hold the break, they should hold the break and not force beyond where they cannot do.
But from where you sit as a labor consultant, you feel that workers are already questioning the credibility of an investigation that is yet to begin. You think it's healthy in resolving such a matter?
Obviously not. That's the reason of my going around the subject matter. I'm so troubled and worried as I sit here. It's not for ADB per se, but the whole country in general.
What would you advise? What would have been the right thing to do?
If they agree that an investigation should be done, and they do not even want maybe Bank of Ghana, they want an independent, impartial facilitator to carry out the investigation, fine. But then everybody should stay put as if no one has been found guilty, so that they put their documents and their information together, management put theirs together, even they are all there. Right. So they all go and appear before that independent facilitator and they put their case across. Otherwise, you found a man guilty already before we even begin. That's where my fear lies. Everybody should take it as though nothing has happened yet, and therefore they would all agree that there is a problem, they want it resolved. So they go and appear before that independent investigator if they think Bank of Ghana is not the body that can be open to all of them and they do something in favor of somebody. Then the minister will be seized with that information, but they will all return to normalcy as if nothing has happened. Let them put their papers together, information together, and appear before that independent facilitator to help them resolve the matter.
So from the way things are going now, do you foresee this thing ending anytime soon?
Yes, it must end, because there must be an end to everything along the way.
Right.
So it must end, and this will show the capability, and I'm sure they should be able to do it. The General Secretary is the one that the union has been certified by the Registrar of Trade Unions to manage any such thing. According to our Labour Act in Section 108, every difficulty they have at the workplace must be resolved through process. And the processes are clear. Right. If they think that it's not going to be true, then they should go to the National Labour Commission to assist them to resolve it.
Many thanks to you, Mr. Ostengami. We appreciate your time, extremely appreciate your time on today's big story. Let's get to Elton Broby. Briefly, we're running out of time. Sitting in that meeting, and I heard the Minister of Employment and Labour Relations earlier on being optimistic about how he feels that something positive will come out from this meeting. Being in the meeting and looking at how things ensued, you see peace after this meeting between workers and management?
Well, listening to the Mr. John Esiepe, the fact that the person who will be under investigation will still be in office raises a lot of, questions. I'm just looking at how the ministry will resolve this particular issue, whether to allow the man to go on interdiction, allow for thorough investigation, or to allow him to stay in office and do this. But what is clear is that this is going to affect the operations of ADB, because they were hoping to launch the public offer this week. They're actually hoping to raise some 200 million Ghana cedi to list on the Ghana Stock Exchange. This, according to them, will help minimize government control over the bank so that they can, in a way, become independent. One other issue is that now they have to consider whether to go back to Parliament and seek parliamentary approval, because that was also another outstanding issue that they were getting advice from the AG's office. It provides them time to look at all these issues, but again, it affects the operations of the bank.
Well, many thanks to you, Elton. We're looking at ADB's issue. We're looking at today's meeting, which we were hoping that it will resolve the impasse of the ADB hula baloo, but it looks like we still have some more days to go, or weeks or months. Let's see. That will be all for today's big story. We'll be back with Joy News Interactive.